Hi, this is Dan Heisman, Philly tutor for Chess FM. This is the Improve Your Chess series for ICC members. In today's game, we're going to look at a game that was played over the board at a slow rate. All right, let's get to the game. White plays e4. Black plays c5. Sicilian, knight f3, d6, d4, open Sicilian. C takes d4. Knight takes, knight f6, knight c3, and now we have the famous quad choice, a6 Nahdorf, e6 Scheveningen, knight c6 classical, g6 dragon. And black plays a6 Nahdorf, the most popular choice. And instead of playing like a modern line like f3 or bishop e3 or the old aggressive line bishop g5, white plays the Karpovian bishop e2. And now the computer thinks that the Nahdorfian move here, e5, is black's best reply, but black decides to transpose into a Scheveningen with e6. Now, when this game was sent to me for consideration and publication, the person playing the game with white looked up the game in MCO, and e6 was not a move after bishop e2, but of course, people in MCO don't always put every transposition, and it turned out that if you know that this is the Scheveningen, it actually transposes into a line on a completely different page. And sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. But in this case, Scheveningen. All right, so white plays bishop e3, a main line, bishop e7. And now the main idea for white is to play f4 and bishop f3. And that makes it very hard for black to quickly play b5 and b4 and pressure the pawn, because with the bishop on f3, there's shots to go up to e5 in some lines. All right, so the main line here is f4. In the game, white played queen d2, which is kind of mixing up lines a little bit. You usually don't see the queen on d2 in this type of position in the Scheveningen. Let's look at the main line and see why. So f4, and now, black can play castles. He can play knight bd7, and white just plays bishop f3, and he's got the pawn guarded twice here. Eventually maybe black can try to attack it 3 times, but white will be able to do things about that. Let's say black tries to play b5 and remove the guard. If he plays b4 right away, b5, then actually white can play e5. Now, I always thought white was going to play bishop f3 there. I was unaware of this trap till the computer showed it to me. So it's kind of cute. So let's take a look at it. So e5, well, it doesn't look very dangerous. Black can just take, and white takes, and black can go to the middle. Black could also attack the pawn, but that's a little more problematic. And now knight takes d5, take with the queen. Of course, if he takes with the pawn, there's just an isolated pawn, and white has a great position. And now the interesting move, knight to f5. You would think that white would be looking for something more like bishop f3, but after queen takes e5, he's hitting the bishop. So that's not all that wonderful. But knight f5 first, that's the move. And if black now plays like queen e4, hitting the bishop and the knight, then knight takes g7 check, king f8, queen d2, and if he takes the knight, king takes g7, bishop checks, king g8, and now just castles. And white has some back rank mate threats, but he also has a skewer, and it's pretty much impossible to stop both. So here, black stops the mate, and bishop f3, and white's winning. And, there's other lines, of course. Let's go back. So suppose black says, I'll just trade queens here. Queen takes.